What if we told you our houses are hurting our home? The homes that we live in and buildings we work in are responsible for nearly 40% of global carbon emissions. But what if we could transform the way we design, construct, and operate buildings to change that number? What if we could harness the power of innovation to create a more sustainable, equitable, and resilient built environment? What if we had the tools to make our houses help our home? That's the mission of IMPEL, a program that empowers early-stage entrepreneurs and researchers to turn their ideas into real-world solutions for a net-zero built environment. Since its inception, IMPEL has trained over 213 teams from across the country, and these innovators have gone on to raise over $90 million in funding to further develop their technologies. With the guidance of expert coaches and program leaders, IMPEL innovators learn how to communicate their vision to potential investors, partners, and customers.
It's such a concentrated shot of just really supportive assistance. It's completely worthwhile.
I was allowed to be candid. I was allowed to be myself. I was allowed to make mistakes. And I think it just opened up different ways about how I think about pitching.
It's just great to get feedback from different people, different insights, including all of our colleagues, like our fellow peers that are part of the cohort, and having so much information and ideas in a short time, it really does, just feel transformative.
Over the past year, IMPEL innovators have been diligently working to drive decarbonization, digitalization, and democratization in the built environment. From radically reducing embodied and operational carbon to integrating data-driven intelligence and connectedness of buildings, these innovators are creating a more sustainable, equitable, and resilient future.
IMPEL is providing building innovators the tools they need to tell the compelling stories and seize opportunities. IMPEL is helping to create a novel ecosystem where business and carbon mindset come together. The companies, the connections, the innovators, the investors, and the incubators. Together, we can collectively decarbonize the built environment at speed and scale so we can promote equitable wellness and resilience for all.
I think the other thing that is really exciting that we see every time we do an IMPEL program is an enormous leap forward for these entrepreneurs and innovators in telling their story and being able to help people understand why it matters, understand where it fits, understand the impact that it can have, and then of course marrying that up with an appropriate go-to-market strategy, whatever that's licensing or commercialization.
The very fact that we are trying to focus on decarbonizing our economy and providing safe and resilient shelter for every American and making sure people can turn their lights on and there's resiliency for energy infrastructure, all these things, the private and the public sector need to come together around these things.
I think it's the right time, right people involved, and with the right amount of infrastructure going in, I think it builds up for something really large.
The future of the built environment is bright thanks to the work of the IMPEL innovator community. Join us on this journey towards a more sustainable, equitable, and resilient world that works for our houses and our home. Hello, everyone. Welcome to IMPEL's Kickoff webinar for FY24. That video we were just watching is a little wrap up of our past cohort in our previous year. So I hope you were able to enjoy that as you're trickling in and getting ready to start with this year. So my name's Mary. I'm a program analyst with IMPEL. And as everyone's settling in and we're preparing to start, I'm just going to go over our agenda for today's webinar. So for today, we're going to begin. Oh, excuse me. Give me just a moment here. Sorry. Got ahead of myself. Okay, so today we're going to begin with a welcome from Nicholas Ryan from the U.S. Department of Energy's Building Technologies Office. We'll then go into a program overview for IMPEL and what's new for the coming year with our program director, Reshma Singh. Then we'll go into a little bit about Berkeley Lab with Marianne Piet, our Energy Technology Area's Associate Laboratory Director. We'll then go into a little bit more detail about the IMPEL program with two of our expert coaches, Christina and JJ, who you just saw in the video. And we'll also hear from two of our partners, Noor at Greentown Labs, as well as Timothy at the US Department of Defense. We'll then have two really exciting panels for you today. One is going to be with some of our IMPEL mentors, Marco, Smita, Shri, and Monica. And then we're going to go into an alumni panel with some of our IMPEL innovators from the previous cohort year. So Jana, Robert, and Ava. Then we'll officially kick off IMPEL's 2024 season. And we'll close with an opportunity for you guys to pose some questions to us and get some answers if you have questions at the end of all this. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Nicholas Ryan from the US Department of Energy's Building Technologies Office. Nicholas, if you're here and want to turn your camera on, we can go ahead and get started.
So I think that Nick might be joining a few minutes later. So why don't we go ahead and get started with our IMPEL overview. First of all, welcome to everybody who's joined today. We're very excited today to launch the new program year for IMPEL for 2024. So Mary, if you don't mind, we can start with my slides and I will talk about the program as well as what's new for this year. So IMPEL, as you know, has been around for about 4 years now. So this is really our 5th year. So we go back to the previous slide, Mary. My name is Reshma Singh and I'm the IMPEL Program Director. I'm very happy to have you all here. So starting to talk about IMPEL. So we believe that in IMPEL, to decarbonize buildings, you must be an innovator. You must think like an innovator, or you must act like an innovator. And so what we want to do is, if you go to the next slide, we have created an innovation engine which is funded by the US Department of Energy's Building Technologies Office. And this is really an engine for early stage technologists, researchers, scientists, professionals, and entrepreneurs, so that we can all support and bolster innovators to impel their building and energy innovations to climate impact. So why IMPEL? First of all, IMPEL is a premier US incubator focused on buildings climate technology. What we try to do through IMPEL is by providing the National Lab Foundation, we try to vet both the technologies and the teams, and we want to make sure that we make this program, which is a government-funded program, accessible to innovators from all backgrounds and regions. So we provide extensive networking and skill building opportunities in the building technology space. So through this networking, you can meet fellow innovators, you get access to incubators and accelerators, as well as world-class coaches and mentors. So all the teams that go through IMPEL, and you will hear from some of them today, gain coaching, mentoring, and pipeline opportunities. So what we have noticed is that there are several barriers to building technology innovation. First of all, it's a very fragmented industry, and most people think that clean energy technologies is essentially renewables or climate mitigation measures. But we feel that energy efficiency, as well as understanding that the buildings and the building edge, which is what basically is the integration between clean energy systems and building technology innovation, is really, really important. However, there are, as I mentioned, many barriers. The first is that the ecosystem is very fragmented between public and private sector players. So we really want to foster an innovative community where we bring public and private sector players together in terms of both the innovation ecosystem as well as investors and industry players. Then to really overcome the lack of an entrepreneurial mindset and skill set, through IMPEL, we coach for both business mindset as well as carbon mindset. And in order to overcome the barrier of low exposure to partners, we provide access to several pipeline opportunities. So essentially, we provide many-to-many engagements where tech-to-market opportunities can bubble to the top and advance this cluster of building technologies. Next slide. So we have built an innovation community where we are very fortunate to, of course, have Building Technologies Office be at the head of this. And you will hear from our Tech to Market lead at Building Technologies Office, Nicholas Ryan, right after this. But our team at IMPEL is essentially myself. You met Laura Wong. She's also here on the webinar today, as well as Yashima Jain and Mary Weigel. And we brought in some tech to market experts. So we have Christina and JJ, as well as Whitney, and you'll hear from a couple of the coaches today. And Shanshan Lee is a tech to market expert who helps with commercialization and licensing opportunities. And we have a very strong advisory board between Mary Hubbard at the DOE, Mary Ann Piet, who is the Associate Lab Director at Berkeley Lab, and Steve Selkowitz, who's a former head of building technologies at Berkeley Lab. We have over 100 years of experience in building technologies. And we've also brought in a very strong incubator partner ecosystem, and leading that is Greentown Labs, which is the largest clean tech incubator in North America. And over the past 4 years, we have helped and supported about 213 teams. They are not just entrepreneurs, as you can see in the middle panel, ranging from entrepreneurs in HVAC technologies, building materials technologies, digital technologies, but also folks who are innovators from universities and national labs. So you can see many such universities and national labs actually in our set of innovators. So we're very proud of our community. So what we do as program offerings is we have several phases for the program. The first phase is what we call the IMPEL Foundational Training, where we have pitch workshops where expert coaches guide innovators through practicing the pitches, understanding the narrative, and really understanding the go-to-market for the technologies. So this includes basically one-day workshops with tailored exercises, on-video training, and coaching with professional critique. So this is really the foundational training. After that, each of the innovators gets into facilitated mentoring sessions where they engage with mentors from diverse organizations who can play a critical role for the networks as well as in the building tech to market journey. And the final piece of foundational training is carbon tools and mindset training. There is a lot of greenwashing in the climate tech space. So we have provided training through which national lab experts really bring carbon tools, and the innovators can identify and estimate the carbon impact of the technologies. And this is really to kind of respond to the venture community, which said that we want to make sure that we can have vetted teams and technologies come to us. And then once innovators go through foundational training, they go through business training and pipeline. So this is essentially innovators who perform really well in the foundational training. We identify and select them, and they go through a bunch of different pipelines and training. So first of all, selected innovators go through business seminars, which are 2 to 3 days of training for personalized coaching around an initial business plan and customized strategies for their project. And then through that, we identify the right type of technical validation and demonstration opportunities, as well as national showcases. So in the past, we've had national showcases at DOE's BTO Peer Review, which is the annual event where there's access to an amazing set of direct engagement with various building sector stakeholders. We also have a private building sector pitch day in partnership with Greentown Labs. And then last year, we also invited selected innovators specializing in the residential space to exhibit their technologies at the Housing and Urban Development's National Innovation Showcase at the National Mall in Washington, D.C. And apart from that, we also provide access to demonstration opportunities and information about field testing with partners and collaborators. So our theory of change, why are we doing all of this? It's really because we believe that we want to really advance a carbon neutral built environment that promotes equitable wellness for all. And we feel that this built environment really encompasses both the buildings as well as the clean energy systems. And so we have 3 Ds that we have to advance this: decarbonize, digitalize, and democratize. So if we go to the next slide, we talk a little bit about what these focus areas are. So this is really about advancing climate adaptation technologies. So on the decarbonized side, we're looking for technologies that radically reduce emissions for a zero carbon built environment. So these are technologies that promote reduction in embodied carbon, operational carbon, as well as a circular economy, essentially of energy flows and building materials. The second D is digitalize, which is when we can help to connect buildings and make them smarter. And these are tools and technologies to understand how the building is functioning and how to optimize the building, distributed energy resources, and the grid, which includes renewables, EV charging, and energy storage, to name a few. And finally, the third D is democratize, which is essentially technology that promote equitable wellness in a resilient living environment. So these are technologies that focus in the built environment on health, air quality, pollution, disaster proofing, and workforce development. So that essentially are our 3D focus areas. So that was about the foundational training, where we actually provide the workshops to enhance skill sets for technologists and innovators who are working in the 3Ds. The next step of the foundational training is the carbon tools. And as mentioned, we provide access to subject matter experts to help you understand the carbon impact of your technology. So we train innovators on embodied carbon tools, such as GREET, which is a DOE carbon tool, as well as specific tools from Carbon Leadership Forum, which is a globally leading organization which works on embodied energy in buildings. And it's one of our collaborators. And on the operational carbon measurement side, we train innovators on Scout, which is also a US DOE program tool, so that innovators can understand the operational carbon impact of the technology. So going to the next part, which is business seminars, we provide a 2 to 3 day of training that goes much beyond the pitch workshop. So the pitch workshop focuses on who is your customer, or what is the problem you're trying to solve, what is your product, and what is your ask. But in the business seminars, we go into competitive analysis, product market fit, go-to-market strategy, pricing, revenue models, and organization build out. And so this year we are looking at 3 types of modules. One is a private capital module, one is partnering with industry module, and one is a public grants module. So talking about the coaching for both the workshops and for the business seminars, we have world-class experts. Christina Elwood, she has been the Chief Marketing Officer of several startups and is currently leading Illuvio. Whitney Hischier is a lecturer at the Berkeley Haas School of Business, and she's also been a national coach for the National Science Foundation's iCore program, and JJ Singh, who is a co-president of Stanford Angels and Entrepreneurs. And together they have raised multi-million-dollar funds, judged startup pitches, and coached technologists towards successful commercialization, in addition to actually having successful careers themselves. So without much ado, I'd like to introduce 2 of our 3 coaches today, Christina Elwood and JJ Singh, if you'd like to be spotlighted. And I'd love to hear from both of you. Welcome to the IMPEL Kickoff for this year. Would love to hear from both of you how you have approached IMPEL and what is in store for the coaching for this year. So JJ, if you'd like to talk about the workshops, and Christina, if you'd like to talk about the business seminars, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. JJ, you want to go first to talk about the workshops since they come first in the sequence?
It's all yours. Why don't we go?
Okay, so thank you very much for having me, Rejma. I appreciate it. And I love being part of this program. It's such a wonderful opportunity to work with talented innovators who have new technology to bring to market to help address climate change and energy efficiency. So I'm really excited to again work together with JJ to put on the business seminars where we really help you to represent what the commercialization or what the go-to-market will look like for your particular innovation. And clearly that's an important part of earning support, either financial support, support from other contributors, or through partners, which oftentimes you need to be able to do pilot programs. So that's our work is really focused there. And our this year we'll be emphasizing the need to articulate that go-to-market in a form that is appropriate to the source of capital that you're looking for. And as Rejma pointed out, there are 3 categories of those sources of revenue. JJ, you want to add to that?
Sure. My name is JJ Singh. Am I coming through clearly, Christina?
Yes, I can hear you very clearly.
Great, thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. I am calling in from Northern California. Uh, I run a group called Stanford Angels. We're an investor group, and we've invested in about 300 companies to date across industries, across different domains. We focus on the seed stage. And by background, I've been CEO of 3 venture-backed companies and also sit on the boards and advisory boards of a handful of companies. It's been 3 years, now 4 years with IMPEL, and really enjoy talking to innovators who have ideas at different stages. It could be a project, it could be 3 people working on a paper, it could be 15 people in a company. The program really helps those groups go to the next step. And as said before, the steps could be either partnering with another company and or raising money. We try to break down the process into 10 steps so that you can understand, what's your audience, what's the problem you're trying to solve, who are your customers, how do you size the customers, and how do you pitch them? And pitches are anywhere from 30 seconds to 3 minutes. And as you probably have guessed, the 30-second pitch is harder than the 3-minute pitch. But the innovators leave this process with a good understanding of not just what they are saying, but what is being heard. And there's a big difference. We often say things, but we're not sure how people are hearing them. And this process helps clarify this whole idea of how do you pitch and how do you build a business plan. And it's invigorating then to see some of these companies go on and really form partnerships and or raise money, as a number of them have done. So looking forward to this year. Hopefully that gives you some context as to what we're doing. Back to you, Reshma.
Thank you very much, Christina and JJ. So I'm going to now invite our lead from the Building Technologies Office, Nick Ryan, to please say a few words in the introduction about the DOE, the BTO, and their support of the IMPEL program. Nick, over to you, please.
Absolutely. Good morning, Reshma. Thank you so much for putting this on and inviting me. Good morning to everyone. Thanks so much for taking the time. I will try to keep it brief because I know we're fitting in a lot of information today. But just kind of building off of what JJ ended with there, the unbridled excitement that we get, not only as this team, but throughout the Building Technologies Office, and to quite extent, through our pillar within the Department of Energy, some of the companies that are coming from this program, and the impact that they are having across the building and energy infrastructure sectors. We are in many ways really hitting our stride as a program. We've been up and running for a handful of years, and in my mind, we're really entering a golden age of this program in a number of different ways. We really view, by we I mean the Department of Energy and the Building Technologies Office, we really view this program in many ways to be the start of a relationship between innovators and the Department of Energy, and how we can continually support the technologies that are coming to the forefront. We really view the companies that we support through this program as a key part of our ability to directly transform the market. Obviously the Department of Energy, there's a whole lot of R&D work and a lot of partnerships with state energy offices and private companies and all that kind of stuff. But the ability for us to find market-driven and market-oriented solutions and incubate them and turn them into something that can be really competitive in the market, and for lack of a better term, really nip at the heels of some of the leading some of the industry leaders to really transform their practices. You guys are really how we go about doing that. So in so many ways, it is a critical part of what we're doing here, from the entrepreneurial side of the Building Technologies Office, all the way through some of the biggest policy initiatives that we have. Our overall goal, in my mind, is to really introduce you to the DOE ecosystem. Kind of going back to the top of my comments here, and building off of what JJ said as far as the success we've seen, is that depending on the track that you do go down, whether it be private investment or partnering with an industry, or using the public services or the public resources that we have access to, the interweaving that companies coming from IMPEL play within the Department of Energy is quite remarkable. People from IMPEL have gone on to win prizes, FOA awards, SBIR, deployment grants. You know, it is really the start of something great to be involved in this program. And you know, it's something you carry with you for forever, and it really does unlock a lot of doors for a number of folks. So I'm really excited about this year. We've increased our support for this program, and you know, Reshma and team have worked tirelessly to expand programming and all sorts of things like that. And you know, every year I get more and more excited, and this year is no different. So with that, Reshma, I will kick it back to you and to learn more. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Nick. We really appreciate
Absolutely.
the support of the BTO and your personal passion around this project as well. I think, as you mentioned, this is a start of something big for many people.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. So I'd like to now hand it over to the Associate Lab Director of Berkeley Lab, Marianne Piet. And if you could please go ahead and build up her slides, Mary. Great to have you here, Marianne. If you could please talk a little bit about Berkeley Lab and the built environment. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Reshma, and thanks everybody to joining this morning's event. It's really exciting to be here to share with you a little about Lawrence Berkeley National Lab and how we relate to the IMPEL program. Go ahead to the next slide. I want to just give you a little bit of our history. I'm sure many of you have seen the Oppenheimer movie, and many of you may have not. Berkeley Lab was founded about 10 years before the Manhattan Project began, and we were founded by Ernest Lawrence, who founded the lab and built the concept of team science. We are over $1 billion in funding each year, with about over 500 postdocs and 300 grad students, and we have 16 Nobel Prizes. So we are a science lab, but we've been expanding our work on applied energy technologies since the oil embargo. And in fact, it's the 50-year anniversary of the energy technologies area here at LBL. Go ahead to the next slide. Just looking back at our history, you'll see Ernest Lawrence is on the bottom row next to the right of the person with the hat on, and Oppenheimer is on the top with the pipe. Those are two notable names. There's a number of other folks here. This is a very white, male-dominant set of scientists. There's a few women in the picture, and our lab director recently, in greeting some guests, commented on that this is not what the lab looks like today, but this is our history, and we're working to improve the diversity of our staff here at Lawrence Berkeley Lab and throughout the building technology space in the United States. Go ahead to the next slide. We have a broad set of technologies that we do research on here at Lawrence Berkeley National Lab. We're known for our work in demand side technologies, and I'll talk about buildings in a moment. We work on industrial energy efficiency and grid integration. We work on the electric grid and renewables. We work on cybersecurity, and energy storage is one of the key things we do. Also working on the city scale and thinking about energy and environmental justice. So we have a broad portfolio to try to support the nation's goal to decarbonize our energy systems and to allow those technologies to be accelerated here in the United States for affordable, clean, and reliable energy, as well as globally, so that we can address the climate change issues, mitigate and adapt to that change in climate that we see. Go ahead to the next slide. I want to spend a moment talking about our history in building technologies. This is our 50th anniversary, as I mentioned. And we were founded by a physicist named Art Rosenfeld, and he was actually Enrico Fermi's last grad student. So we have a tie to that basic science side of the lab. But in the oil embargo, he started looking at the problem around reducing the need to import foreign energy. And that's been something of interest to the United States to help improve our use of domestic energy supplies and ensure they're clean. So the oil embargo and Earth Day were things that helped launch our scientists. We have a long history in windows technology. We do a lot of work in cool roofs and helping. Back in the 90s, we were aware of the urban heat island process,
which is much worse today as we have more extreme heat in the United States as well as around the world. This has been the hottest month in July this year, and we really need these technologies to reduce our carbon footprint as well as improve human health. We are one of the creators of something called Energy Plus, which evolved from California, something called CalErta, to DOE2, to Energy Plus. And those tools create the ground truth for building codes and modeling the performance of different energy technologies. I'll talk about FlexLab in a moment, but we've been working for over almost 10 years in Cyclotron Road, in Cradle to Commerce, and in IMPEL to try to create pathways for moving technology from the lab to the market. Go ahead to the next slide. I'm happy to share a few more comments with you about FlexLab. This is a facility here at the lab. There's a little picture there at the bottom. Those are side-by-side test beds. So many of you have had the opportunity to bring your technology to a FlexLab test bed test, where one of the cells can have a baseline technology and the other one might have your window or your cooling system or your plug load controller. And we'll test it in real world commercial building scale test beds. So we have 4 or 8 cells, 4 side by side, and one of them is a 2-story one. And the one on the very left, it actually rotates. So we can change the way the building's oriented, which influences the solar gain. We're very interested in energy storage, bidirectional EV charging, demand flexibility and grid integration, and also cybersecurity. So we have a lot of unique facilities here, and we look forward to helping you think about the way to engage in testing those systems of your technologies. Go ahead to the next slide. And this is my final slide. Lawrence Berkeley Lab has 60 startups based on Berkeley Lab Tech. And over the past 10 years, over 500 US patents and 1,700 inventions in software. So we do a lot of open source software as well as software that's available for licensing. And the Cyclotron Road program, which is an embedded program where folks get 2 years of funding to use the facilities at the lab and facilitate startups, has had over $1 billion in follow-on funding. IMPEL also has bragging rights with 213 teams, $87 million of follow-on funding, covering researchers and entrepreneurs from 26 states, with about half of the cohort being diverse. So we're very excited to share these overview with you today, and I greatly look forward to working with you and continuing to support the program and to ensure that the IMPEL program makes the best use of your time and the DOE's time to help launch these technologies for our decarbonization agenda. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marianne. So Berkeley Lab is one of the 17 national labs that are supported by the US Department of Energy. And we are very excited to be able to provide the scientific and carbon foundation for building technologies going forward. So I'm going to go and through my other slides right now, and let's launch the rest of the program. So thank you, Marianne, for talking about Berkeley Lab as a part of the DOE machinery. So I want to now talk about our other assets of the program. So we talked about our coaches. Next, I want to talk about the other part of a foundational program, which is access to mentors. So we provide a whole plethora of mentoring support through 4 types of mentors: investors ranging from boutique firms such as Shadow Ventures and ADL Ventures, to large banks such as SoftBank. And we also provide access to subject matter experts coming from all in different national labs to support the decarbonize, digitalize, and democratize drivers for IMPEL. We also have entrepreneurs who've done it before and can help our IMPEL innovators to be able to walk the walk. And then we have policy and demonstration experts ranging from nonprofits, the Department of Energy, Department of Defense, the National Association of State Energy Officials, as well as cities. So as you can see, based on whatever technology that you might have, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to find the right mentor match for you who can help support your journey towards entrepreneurship. So the collaboration network essentially is scientists from our national labs and universities, policy and demonstration experts, investment specialists, and entrepreneurs. And we invite you to participate in the IMPEL program so you can avail of all of these amazing expertise and experiential curves. So IMPEL essentially, once innovators go through the program, we provide access to two different types of pipelines. One is the public sector tech to market pipeline. The second is the private sector tech to market pipeline. On the public sector side, we provide opportunities and information about various types of funding. For example, DOE and NSF grants, SBI or STTR funds, technology commercialization funds, all coming from the federal government. Also validation opportunities through national lab, IP, test beds, a bunch of fellowship programs, as well as pilots and demonstrations. And then also, as required, folks who are interested in the manufacturing side, we can also provide access to the Advanced Manufacturing Office Network. So our national showcases with DOE and partners are the places where our innovators find these collaborators and partnerships for the public sector pipeline. So we essentially are embedded in the US DOE's Energy Efficiency Renewable Energy Office, but also we have collaborations with NASIO, as well as the Housing and Urban Development. So that's sort of the left-hand side, the public sector side. On the right-hand side, you'll see we have access to networks such as incubators, accelerators, demonstration partners, and funding. So here we have a network connections with Greentown Labs and with E8 Angels. So this is one of my favorite slides. This is FY23 in pictures. So you'll see that we start with our workshops, and last year we had 3 workshops, one in Berkeley, one in Indianapolis, and one in Boston. This is where our innovators found the foundational training through the pitch training and creation of the first business mindset and the carbon mindset. Then we went into the business seminars, which was held in Berkeley, a 2-day event where everybody, poured their hearts and souls in understanding what is the next go-to-market aspect of their work. And then we also went on to various pipeline opportunities. So here you can see IMPEL innovators at the DOA's Building Technologies Office, IMPEL, a national showcase. And then we also had some of our innovators go to the Greentown Labs event at the building sector pitch day at Greentown Labs. And then finally in June, some of the IMPEL innovators were also invited to go to the Housing and Urban Development National Showcase, Innovation Showcase at the Washington Mall. So in a nutshell, why IMPEL? So first, we talked about all the coaching, but this is sort of our last why IMPEL, which is access to pipelines. So as you can see, we have several pipelines, and actually, if you go to the next slide, I'd like to invite 2 of our pipeline, our demonstration partners and our pipeline opportunity partners to the panel. But before that, I'd like to also announce that this year we want to provide more community building through IMPEL. We already have LinkedIn groups where we provide robust networking collaboration across the cohorts, so not just your cohort, but across the different cohorts of IMPEL. And this year, we're in the process of jointly developing an index of innovators, investors, and industry players through what we call the I3N network, so that together our community can get a community mindset, a carbon mindset, and a business mindset to really launch their building technologies. So a few of the success stories, just as anecdotal evidence. So our IMPEL innovators have been going on to win awards, grants, funding, pilots, partnerships, and fellowships, both on the hardware side as well as the software side of the house. So for example, ShowerStream is a company that came into IMPEL in 2022, and they have won pilots with Extended Stay America, as well as with the US Department of Defense. Hearth Labs is a software company which is now partnering with Mass CEC, and they've also been accepted into the Cradle to Commerce program. Examples of grants and funding is Claw Industries, which is a circular economy product where they're finding recycled glass and diverting it from landfills. And through their patented process, they have received an EPIC prize, and they are a IMPEL 2022 innovator. On the fellowship side of the house, many of innovators have gotten into Cyclotron Road, Innovation Crossroads, and Westgate, which are all LEAP programs. And some of them are also being accepted into other incubators such as VGlass, which just got accepted into the third derivative cohort, as well as Thermoverse, which just got accepted into Innovation Crossroads. So these are just some examples of how we're able to support our innovators to get to the next stage of incubation. So IMPEL by the numbers, in the last 4 years, 213 teams. Together, these early stage teams have won over 150 awards, pilots, and grants, created 190 green jobs, and at last count, over 85 million raised by innovators. And what we're most proud about is about our diversity. Most incubators really focus on the two coasts as hotbeds for innovation, but we want to make sure that we find those building innovators across the country. So currently, about over half the US through 26 states and territories is represented in the IMPEL cohorts, and over half of our innovators are women and people of color. So here's a timeline for next year. So our application process has started in fall, and the deadline is September 20th. Our workshops are scheduled. This year we will have 2 workshops, and it's going to be pretty early in the fall, in October and November, followed by the mentor sessions. In winter, we will go into the carbon tools training and business seminars. And in the spring, summer, we will actually go into the pipelines, which is a national showcase, as well as the other showcases and other pipeline opportunities. So we have a very intense year coming up. So please make sure that you apply soon, and you also spread the word to other innovators who want to be part of the IMPEL community. So it gives me great pleasure now to introduce 2 of our collaborators, and I'm going to pass it on to my colleagues to launch the rest of the program.
Great. Hi, good morning, everyone.
Noor, I'd like to introduce you first. Noor Gadanfar is a Senior Director of Partnerships Programs at Greentown Labs, and we have been partnering with Greentown for the past 3 years with very good impact. We actually really appreciate your partnership and would love to hear from you, Noor. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Reshma. Could I just start sharing my screen, please? Perfect. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm based in Houston, so it's right after 12 p.m. here. Very excited to be here, very excited to talk about the partnership between IMPEL and Greentown Labs. But before I get into that specifically, I'd love to talk, for those who don't know what Greentown Labs is, introduce Greentown Labs and sort of what we do and a bit of our history. So we are the largest climate tech incubator in North America. And really, that's just a fancy way of saying that we have startups that have technology to fight climate change. We focus on the 5 largest greenhouse gas emitting sectors. So that's agriculture, buildings, electricity or energy, manufacturing, and transportation. And you know, I love the sort of our founding story, because we were founded when 4 startups out of MIT decided to share lab space up in Boston because rent there was so expensive. This was back in 2011. And then in 2021, so 10 years later, we opened up Greentown, Houston, where I'm currently located. And during that time, we've incubated over 500 companies. Those companies have created over 24,000 jobs. They've raised over $4 billion in funding. But the number that we're really the most proud of is a 94% startup survival rate, which simply means that out of the 500 companies we've incubated, 94% are still around. And I think that's a testament to sort of the Greentown Labs network and access to resources, but of course, partnerships with programs like IMPEL as well. And so if you want to think of where you lie as a Greentown Labs member traditionally, of course, there are always exceptions. We are in that stage where you are really focusing on prototyping, small scale manufacturing, and piloting. So typically startups will have already built a business plan or begun licensing. They've gone through an accelerator program similar to IMPEL's, where they refined that plan and raised seed funding. And then that's when they apply to join Greentown Labs and join our incubator. And we have partner support and staff support to really help you get through that valley of death. And when you're at the point where you are commercially deploying and you have multiple customers, that's when you typically leave Greentown and you're ready to scale on your own. So a little bit about how the IMPEL program works with Greentown Labs. So first, Reshma already mentioned this and has highlighted some of the pictures from the event, but there's an innovator pitch event. And this year it took part as the Greater Building Sector Pitch Day. So this event happens once a quarter. And essentially innovators that are selected there have an opportunity to present to corporates, investors, and industry leaders at the pitch event. For example, some of the speakers at the event this year we had, one of the partners at Brick and Mortar Ventures. We also had the head of internal and external ventures from Saint-Gobain. So fantastic lineup of people really across the space from both corporate, investor, and of course, government entities. The second aspect is we are very happy to facilitate introductions between selected IMPEL innovators, as well as investors, corporates, and customers during the pitch event. So I believe this year we had over 100 people attend, and we had a private investor lunch. And so startups were able to mingle directly with investors and talk to them about their technology and what they were looking for. And there's also a portion where you receive access to curriculum and learning opportunities while you are doing this program through Greentown Labs. So whether it's webinars or incubation materials, other opportunities to co-apply for grants or do things with our member startups or our corporate partners are available. And then finally, you are invited to attend other Greentown Labs events that are happening in the space, both private and public. And I wanted to highlight some of our two public ones that are upcoming that will have a focus on the building sector. The first is we are currently running an accelerator program called Go Build with Saint-Gobain, and it's focused on the sort of building technology and circularity. We are currently in the application phase right now. So if you're interested, you are more than welcome to apply. We've had a lot of startups who've done the IMPEL track, then done a Go program with Greentown, and I'll share a little bit more about that in the next slide. But then, of course, our biggest event of the year, not just building specific, but will encompass buildings, is Climate Tech Summit. So it's happening November 1 in Houston and November 2 in Boston. Tickets are limited, so if you're interested, then you can only attend one Greentown event. I always say the Climate Tech Summit is the event to attend. And so here are just some tracks and examples of several of the startups that have both taken place in Greentown and IMPEL, and I want to highlight a few of those. So first of all, I believe Jana from Fractal is here, and she'll talk a little bit about her history. But essentially, Jana joined Greentown, then I believe was accepted into the IMPEL program. And she is also part of our Excel program, which highlights minority and underrepresented founders. And so she, was able to pitch at the building sector pitch day, and is really, she's based in Houston, is able to utilize both IMPEL's network and the programming alongside Greentown Labs and Excel's, which is fantastic. We've also had startups like Community Energy Labs, which, went after joining IMPEL, applied to Greentown Labs, and they were accepted and joined within 6 months. And during that 6 months at Greentown Labs, they actually raised, I believe, a seed round or a Series A with the help of the investor program at Greentown, which is wonderful. And then finally, Inventwood, they participated in the IMPEL 2021 program. They were applied and accepted to the Healthy Buildings Challenge that we did with Saint-Gobain back in 2021. And then they received membership during that accelerator program and opted to continue as a paying member following the completion of that program. So they've utilized sort of all the aspects of Greentown, from accelerator program to our incubation program as well. I just want to make clear that participation in any of our programs requires submitting an application and being accepted. Of course, having IMPEL on your resume as a startup is always like a leg up, but it is not a guarantee to acceptance to Greentown Labs. So I just wanted to flag that. But we've had a fantastic relationship with IMPEL. We're continuing to sort of grow our partnership and identifying ways that we can make it more effective. And I look forward to seeing the next cohort of startups engage with Greentown. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Noor, for your continued support and partnership. I'd like to call now Tim Tetro. He was the program manager at the U.S. Department of Defense's ESTCP program. And Tim has been a mentor and a very, very valuable mentor to the IMPEL community for the past couple of years since we started the program. And we have been talking about how we can actually enhance the collaboration and pipeline opportunities. So it would be great to hear from you. Thank you for joining us today.
All right, thank you, Rashma. Hello, everybody. Yeah, my name is Tim Tetro. I'm a program manager of a program that's called the Energy Security Technology Certification Program, ESTCP. And the program exists within the Office of Secretary of Defense for acquisition and sustainment. It's one of a few R&D programs focused on environmental and energy challenges that our military installations are facing. And so a lot of the funding goes to addressing some environmental cleanup technologies that are and requirements that are actually quite unique to the Department of Defense, from munitions cleanup to soil and water contamination cleanup to military system kind of industrial processes that need to be cleaned up from emerging contaminant standpoint. So we have a few different program areas. My program area is focused on installation, energy, and water technologies. So we're seeking solutions to help improve the way we use and manage our energy and water resources on our military installations. So that comes in terms of improving our building energy efficiency and water efficiency, to improving the energy and water security and availability on our military installations to ensure that we have and can support those critical operations that we have ongoing in our facilities. And so on the military installation side, there's a lot of crossover between what our requirements are and needs are and those of private sector. We're not dissimilar in terms of our electrical and water infrastructure to a small town or like a university campus. And we have quite a diverse number of and types of buildings that we need to manage. And so we're a great place to demonstrate technologies, and that is the purpose of a program. So we identify technologies. We have these often broad problem areas or need areas that are, like I said, generally seeking improvements to facility energy and water efficiency. There are some cases where we have unique requirements, and that might be more on the side of cybersecurity, control systems and so on. But basically, we are in our program, we fund demonstration projects. They're all conducted on our military installations, fully funded. And ultimately, what we're trying to do is demonstrate, validate technology cost and performance, and then ultimately transition those to the end users. And oftentimes that is done through partnership with energy savings performance contractors, so ESCOs. We see them as a key stakeholder. So we're bringing together innovators, trying to engage with energy services companies to conduct the demonstrations so that they get their hands on those technologies and get experience with them. Ultimately, what we'd like is for them to carry them forward and implement those more broadly through performance contracts, which is a pretty common way for our facilities and buildings to get upgraded over time through performance contracts. And so as a kind of a collaborator with the program, I'm very interested to see the technologies that are out there. It's very exciting to see all the interesting ideas that are coming through, the technologies that are being presented, and ultimately answer questions and provide a resource to anybody in the program as to how they might engage with the Department of Defense in further demonstrating technologies in the use cases that we have. And so I'm very glad to be here and look forward to participating with this next exciting cohort.
Thank you so much, Tim. We've had a couple of our innovative teams go to the STCP program successfully. And we want to make sure that we provide the right technology de-risking through your program. So we really appreciate your partnership as well. And hopefully this year we can actually find more streamlined flow. And it's always great to see two large agencies of the government collaborate like this. So both DOE and DOD. So thank you so much, Tim, again. Fantastic. So you just heard from a couple of our collaborators. So I think we'll move to the next panel now. This is our IMPEL mentor. So as I mentioned earlier, we have a plethora of mentors, and we swear by them because they're the ones who can provide you with the experiential curve. They can open up access to networks. They can open up essentially a lot of new ideas around business and technology for you. So I am going to invite Marco, who is the IMPEL technical mentor. He's a research scientist at Berkeley Lab. So welcome, Marco.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly. Monica Roy, who's an IMPEL industry mentor, and she's an entrepreneurship and innovation partnerships manager at Carrier Ventures, one of the largest HVAC companies in the world. Thank you for joining, Monica. Welcome back.
Much pleasure to be here.
Sri Sukhi, who is an IMPEL entrepreneurship mentor, and he is an EIR at Johnson Controls, which is one of our digitalized work streams. Welcome, Sri. Sri, we can't hear you.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining. And Smita Gupta, who is an IMPEL policy mentor. She's a director for building innovation at New Buildings Institute. So I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Laura, to please run the IMPEL mentor panel. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Reshma, and thank you all for attending and for the mentors that are here. Just a quick recap again about our mentor panel. So currently, IMPEL has over 20 mentors with varied areas of expertise. They hail from impact funds, demonstration partners, state energy offices and federal entities, major corporate ventures, and they're also subject matter experts from national labs. These mentors serve the program in at least two ways formally. First, they provide technical and market guidance to our IMPEL innovators after IMPEL's pitch coaching workshops. And the IMPEL executive team also leans on them to support the program's strategic growth. So today, we'll hear about how they help early entrepreneurs establish themselves. And I will give a little bit more background on each of these speakers who are here today. So Marco is a research scientist at Lawrence Berkeley National Lab, where he conducts research in the area of advanced controls, data-driven modeling, and data analytics applied to buildings. And Marco's background spans mechanical engineering, building science, data science, and human behavior. So Marco, welcome, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Smita Gupta is currently serving as the Director for Federal Facility Decarbonization at the White House Council on Environmental Quality through this year. And today, however, she'll be speaking from her experience and perspective as the Director of Building Innovation at the New Buildings Institute. And Smita has been involved in building energy policy, programs, technology, and research for over 18 years. Sri Sukhi is a serial entrepreneur in clean tech, a data scientist, and a product leader. And currently he's an entrepreneur in residence within Johnson Controls as a co-founder and head of product and technology for his decarbonization startup, Utility Saver. And finally, Monica Roy is a product lifecycle and strategic marketing specialist with over 28 years of experience across multiple industries and multiple business types and sizes. And in her current role at Carrier, she applies her experience within an innovation and technology team in central engineering, focused on both open innovation and innovation partnerships. So again, welcome all of you. And I'd like to ask each of you a few questions about your experience with the program and how you've helped mentors here or mentees here, or just broadly. I'll start with Marco. Marco, how can National Lab scientists support entrepreneurs?
So national labs are, for people who are not familiar with them, are kind of in the middle between universities and kind of R&D in industry. And our mission is really develop new technologies and test technology in the field and in the lab. So we really help new participants in figuring out what is sound technology, what is a way of testing it, and very rigorously. So in my experience has been with several participants in so advising them on how their technology fits in the bigger picture that includes DOE support, maybe local support like funding from states or DOE program or DOD programs, and try to give them context and tools to really narrow down what their technology uniqueness is.
Thank you. Yeah, as Reshma has touched on earlier, there's several opportunities for this sort of technical input coming, of course, from SMEs like yourself, our carbon tools training, with which features a couple of scientists who have developed carbon tool estimates from the national labs, as well as some demonstration opportunities that are new to this year. I'll start with, then go to Smita. Smita is a building energy policy expert and IMPEL mentor. We're really looking forward to you helping our innovators understand the regulatory landscape that applies to their business and business strategies. But could you also talk a bit about how the NBI supports innovation policy and helping de-risk startups' commercialization journey?
Thank you, Laura, and happy to be here. It's been a very exciting and invigorating, past year, mentoring the different innovators and hearing about all the, solutions that they bring to the table. As Director for Building Innovation at the New Buildings Institute, which is a nonprofit with a mission, in fact, very well aligned to the outcome that, Reshma earlier pointed out for IMPEL, the theory of change. It's what we do is advance best practices, codes, policies through market leadership, research, guidance, including technical advocacy towards, providing a carbon-free built environment that is equitably delivered across, to everybody in terms of climate solutions. So the policy landscape for building decarbonization is, evolving right now. But this is the time which probably is the most propitious that it has ever been in over 2 decades. So the policy that, while it may seem like a more stymied and, not as conducive to innovation, this is the right time because it is setting a long-term goal towards decarbonizing the built environment. And in fact, in my role at the White House Council on Environmental Quality, the current administration and the president's executive order, the 14057, if folks have not seen, go to sustainability.gov, sets a very clear policy long-term vision around decarbonizing the federal facility built environment, in no uncertain terms as, decarbonizing, leading by example. So, and it cuts across all aspects of building decarbonization, right from making it more efficient, transitioning to low carbon embodied material, including low carbon energy sources. So it is a very holistic view where it is in fact counting on innovation to get to that longer term goal. So all the solutions, be it technology, business models, or paradigms that are innovative are a key part of meeting that long-term policy goals. And so it both the federal government and the policy itself, leading by example, as well as the New Buildings Institute's mission to drive towards it, it is, most in supporting these innovations and counting on them, because getting the, effective policy fosters innovation, and in the same way, innovation, in fact, in turn informs policy decisions that are, more finessed towards meeting that shared end goal that all of us have for the decarbonized built environment.
Thank you. I know, Reshma, did you have a question too? I know that you mentioned that that sometimes it takes policy 10 years and innovation 10 years to reach fruition. Did you have a follow-up question to Smita about this?
Yeah, my question, Smita, is like, how do we actually bring technologists and policymakers across the table? Of course, with industry and with subject matter experts, how do we make sure that they're not walking along parallel tracks, but the intersection happens early enough so that the 5 to 10 year growth and fruition happens in a way that is very well integrated with each other?
Great question, Reshma. And as I was mentioning, in fact, policy, the long-term policy vision is counting on the innovation to get to its, goals. So having, this private and public sector partnerships, and at least in the context of the federal government and, a lot of the state government policies, be it California, New York, and other leading states, it is the partnership for pilots and, basically getting more of sort of confidence or bankability of the innovative approaches and technology, which can then turn into more solidified, policy, because policy is meant to also safeguard and protect the public interest at large. So there is a role for innovation, but de-risking and mitigating the potential risks of the innovation, which are inherently, that's the role of innovation, is to take those risks. So meeting to mitigate those risks and ensure, that the public benefit and the societal benefit, which, policy at large really needs to ensure, is, mainstreamed. But definitely policy is counting on innovation, and several, ways, the Green Proving Ground that GSA has and other such similar, state programs, California and New York are all have the table open for innovation and innovators.
Thank you, Reshma, and thanks, Smita. I'll go to Shri now. Coming from an entrepreneurial background and on the topic of risking or de-risking, having led multiple startups and teams, you must have a lot of experience in customer discovery and development process and market fit. Can you talk a little bit about this and the insights that you can share to our cohort of early entrepreneurs?
Yeah, great question, Laura. Can you guys hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. So yeah, I mean, the first step is choosing like a market segment, right? Like within which you are operating, like what kind of decarbonization, which part of the built environment. But then, yes, you really want to understand the customer in depth, right? And where does decarbonization, which is something that we think is a world mission, where does that align with customers' goals, right? And the first that, in my experience, what we've uncovered is like, if there is a cost savings with payback that appeals to a large fraction of customers. But there are some other discoveries we made along the way, which makes cost not the only factor, right? And a lot of that has to do with scope 3. So, most, and this is, I'm talking in the world of businesses and commercial buildings, right? Like for residential, I think it's a whole nother set of metrics, right? For commercial buildings, like you have a building that's affiliated with some large corporation that has made some kind of, 3-scope commitment, right? Like a climate commitment. And now you have say somebody who's a supplier to Target, right? And Target has made that commitment. And now that supplier needs to decarbonize, right? Like, so now you have this pressure besides cost savings that drives them towards lower emissions in their facilities, right? And similarly, you know, like we're working with, in my current role, we're working with hotel chains. And if you take the example, like say Wyndham, right? Like their goal is to reduce, you know, is to set and reduce their scope 3 emissions. And then like you have 6,000 buildings that are owned by independent hotel owners who are the franchisees. And, you know, franchisee emissions is features on Wyndham's scope 3, right? Like, so then that's the other type of pressure that they either already have or will soon have, that would lead them to, you know, switch out their gas water heaters for, say, something like heat pump water heaters, right? Like, and enact the steps needed to reduce emissions in their hotels in that case. So yeah, I think that's sort of like a longer answer, but the idea is to look for what matters to the customer. Like, you know, you want to find out who matters most, which is, you know, which market segment, and then what matters to them. Well, I have to save costs and I have this pressure from large corporations that I'm affiliated with, right? Like, so these are discoveries in our field. And then for a new startup, like, it would be interesting to see what the corresponding discoveries are, which you can only get by talking to enough customers, right? And visiting their facilities in this case.
Wonderful, thank you. Yeah, I think that that's a really great perspective that could be given to our innovators, is they often ask some of these questions in our workshops, but that's just the workshops bring them just, you know, to the edge of some of those questions about customer discovery, and with I think they could really lean on that support from your insights as a mentor. Switching over to Monica. So Monica, you've been with the IMPEL program since I think since we've started the mentor panel a couple of years ago. And so you have a lot of experience with our program. You've seen it grow. You've mentioned previously that the innovators that come through IMPEL can work with mentors like you in various ways. So with your diverse experience across industries and business types and sizes, how can you help also de-risk budding technology projects? And I know that you've mentioned that though you are representing Carrier, that you have an interest in mentoring, you know, and making broader industry connections even beyond. So please share with us some of the ways that you have helped our innovators in the past and continue to do so.
Sure, and I'm going to shamelessly reinforce what Sri was just talking about, because product market fit is really, really important. And oftentimes coming through these programs, the founders are technologists, and understanding the market and understanding the customer can sometimes be challenging. Where do you start? How do you do it? And those are things that I can help with. I have had a lot of new product development experience, launched dozens of products throughout my time in different industries. So really, and being able to articulate, you know, the unique value proposition of the solution to your customer and obtaining their feedback is also really important. The other kinds of things that I think can lead to you know, success versus challenges are being really focused, right? And I think a lot of new founders, you know, they start to listen to some customers and, you know, get excited about what they can do with their solution. But you have to do that really carefully, right? Because you can end up running into a lot of customization that can overtake what you're doing. So you want to make sure that you collate information from a variety of your target customers and come up with any, you know, elements of your solution that can be satisfactory to all of them, right? You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to match everything, but you want to provide enough value so that your solution is interesting, compelling, and the customers want to pilot and or invest in it or buy it. Right. So that's a lot of the elements that I can assist with. including, how do you go about some of these things, right? And so that also essentially de-risks the solution as it's getting developed, and helps to ensure its success once it gets to market. Things to consider as well are things like channels, who is your target customer? Because you want to keep that relatively narrow at first too. If you can find, a niche that isn't fully exploited to get started, it's a great way to build momentum and gain traction as you move into other market areas or applications or customer types. And then in relation to my role at Carrier, I manage innovation partnerships. So Carrier started a CDC organization about 1.5 years ago. We've made 3 rounds of investment so far. We do focus a little more on later stage companies, but it's good information to be aware of. And we are experts in the built environment and cold chain. We are a climate intelligence and energy company. So, we have, a great deal of knowledge about the space and what's happening in it with regard to carbon reduction and efficiencies and solutions for the built environment. And also, just like Sri was talking about, we've made our own ESG goal commitment. So we're investing about $2 billion to become carbon neutral by 2030. And we've also committed to reducing our customers' carbon footprint by a gigaton in the same time frame. So solutions that provide deep opportunities for decarbonization, especially in relation to HVAC solutions and indoor air quality, are of particular interest to us.
Thank you so much, Monica. And I see that we're a bit about behind time, so I'm going to have to wrap up this panel. Our mentors are one of the key and best features of our program. Highly encourage the viewers of this webinar to view our website where the full list of our mentor advisory panel roster is located, as well as a deeper background on each of the speakers that are here today. Thank you all very much for joining us. And with that, I'm going to end this panel and hand it off to my colleague Yashima, who will lead the innovator panel.
Great, thanks. Thank you, Laura, and thank you all our mentors today. Hi, everyone. This is the last leg of this webinar today. We have our great innovators who participated last year in IMPEL. And we have with us Eva Talbot, Jana Potter, and Robert Benjamin, who will share some of their experience of participating in IMPEL, how it impacted their innovation, their business. And I'm going to just ask a few questions to them. And but before I do that, I would also like to introduce them very briefly. So Eva Talbot is the US Product Director of Modulus, a brand that is developing a decarbonized, pre-manufactured, volumetric modular solution for multifamily construction. We also have with us Jana Potter, who is the founder and CEO of Fractal. Fractal develops bio-based polymer alternatives for the built environment for agricultural overages. And lastly, we have Robert Benjamin, who is the founder and CEO of Aris Hydronics. Aris designs an all-in-one combined HVAC and DHW system that produces zero carbon emissions and operates at up to 500% efficiency and has load shifting as well as scheduling capabilities. So welcome our innovators today, and thank you so much for joining in. Just to begin the series of a few questions that I have, the first thing is, Eva, I would like to ask you, what are the most valuable resources and services that IMPEL provided you with? Is there something that you would like to highlight here?
Hi, yeah, thanks. I'd say the most valuable resources and services that IMPEL provided me with was really the direct and in-time feedback around kind of educating us and how to talk about what we're doing. So, I guess that can boil down to pitching, but like I said, the education was intense and it was direct and it didn't take a lot of time out of the overall work week or day. But then additionally, I think the networking that went along with it. So like interpersonal, like within the cohort networking, but then also networking with possible partners, funders, and from that all, a little bit of inspiration. I think when we are in this phase of development, it can be very easy to get very isolated. And it was just a really wonderful experience across the board. So that was the most valuable part of it overall.
Great. Thanks, Eva, for that. My next question is to Jana. So Jana, you have been, you have participated in Greentown Labs and you came in from there and you've had a lot of success stories as well. So my question to you would be, one, what was your experience like? How have you come this far, given like the different demo opportunities that were provided by IMPEL? And do you want to share some experience around that?
Yeah.
Oh, there's an echo, Jana.
Yes, I hear you.
And I think you have two other open windows.
Say again.
I think you have another window open that's also logged into Zoom.
Okay.
No worries. We can, I'll probably move ahead to Robert and then we can come back to you, Jana. So, hey, Robert, my question to you is, so you participated in the business seminars as well. So just for our participants to know today, how did the program help you develop your business plan and your pitch? And what is the change that you have seen from before participating to IMPEL to where you are right now?
Yeah, thank you. Welcome, everyone. So going into this, I've had a fair amount of experience as an entrepreneur. I had been working on my pitch quite a bit in the pitch deck, but I wasn't sure what to expect on the level of feedback and coaching. But what I found was it was amazing. It was really intense. And it doesn't matter what level you were at, you were thrown into an environment that really challenged you. And so I think I do feel that I really improved my ability to communicate what we're doing, which again, I think for all of us is very expansive and sometimes technical, and also, how do we relate to the customer, all these different things. So it was great to be part of that day of really intense pitching experience.
Right. And we also heard that you were one of the 6 finalists in the EASE prize. Do you want to talk a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, so while the program was going on, we were going after a number of sort of big funding opportunities and prizes and all the things that the DOE was putting out, which was a lot. So yeah, we're one of the 6 finalists for phase 1, or we won the phase 1 prize. And now we're shifting into gears for our phase 2, where we'll compete against 5 other teams throughout the country for $1 million prize. And there's a big component of demonstration and then documentation of everything that our solution does. So it's exciting, but also, a number one of these opportunities that come up that we are now going back through our network of people we met along the way, and bringing people together to try to build a stronger team. And so that's something that we're actively doing through the IMPEL network as well.
That's great to know. Thanks, Robert. Jana, can we come back to you?
I think I'm good now.
All right, great. Thanks. Yeah, so do you want to talk about your experience of participating in IMPEL, coming from Greentown Labs? And then we also heard that you were accepted into the Advancing Climate Tech and Clean Energy Leadership Program. Am I right about that?
You are right. So this year has been super fast and full of a lot of opportunities, and a lot of that I think had to do with IMPEL. For the people that are going to apply, I think it's sort of almost an immediate sort of validation of what you're doing, right? Just to say that these independent reviewers have looked at what you're looking to build and there's interest there, and then they sort of put you in front of these opportunities. As mentioned, I was at Greentown before I started, but I think it also sort of helped as I moved through the paths that IMPEL had already set up. I participated, one of the things that was the most special was the HUD Innovative Housing Showcase in DC, where I got to actually shake hands with the Secretary of HUD and talk to her directly. And she talked to everybody about what we were building and how that could impact our nation and the people looking for those things. And I think that was really special. And I don't think that I would have been able to do that without IMPEL. In the Greentown space, I also did the building sector pitch day, which was humongous. As mentioned, there was a lot of one-on-one conversation with people in the ecosystem that are actively looking to partner with innovative companies and people that are doing things. So to be able to sort of get up and speak about Fractal, and then, directly after have people come up and say, we're interested in this for this reason, or let's have a conversation. And it was just immediate feedback, which was really good. And I think I'll second what Eva was saying, actually, Eva and Robert, they were intense. The sessions were intense, but they were intense in a really good way. And it was sort of back and forth. It was intense when it was focused on you, but when someone else was up speaking, you got to kind of sit back and think about how it applied to you, and then make adjustments to what you were trying to build. And for us, one of the things that was really important was being able to craft a story to not only pitch for funding, but really to pitch for pilot opportunities, right? Because that's what was really important for us, to be able to sit down and say, here's what we would like to do. This is how long it will take. This is how much we think it will cost. And this is how it will benefit you. And JJ, I know I did that in the wrong order, but those are the things, so it was a really good thing for us.
Great. That's great to know your experience. I hope our participants are able to get the most out of that one. I know we're running a little short on time, so I'm going to quickly ask one last question to each of you. And my question is, so you got to experience multiple public and private sector opportunities through IMPEL, and some of you have shared your experiences as well. So for the people who are little on the fence or planning to apply for IMPEL, is there some word of advice or something that you would want to tell those people just to get them started? So Eva, anything from your side?
Yeah, I would say do it. You won't regret it. And to echo, no matter what phase of development you're at, your product, your profession, anything, you will have clear takeaways. And it's like a hockey stick ramp up of improvement.
Thanks, Eva.
Exponential.
Thank you.
I would say just be prepared to quickly take advantage of every single opportunity that comes up. There's not going to be a lot of prep time in between. And that also includes making sure you have some resources to draw on. I know this is really tough, and it was tough for us because a lot of things are self-funded, but there were certain things I would have liked to attend that we couldn't. And every time we did attend something, there was something we got out of it. So just be prepared to really move quickly if something comes up and there's an opportunity.
Thanks, Robert. Jana?
I agree with both of them.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, our innovators. And these are really great insights, and I hope our participants were able to get some information out of that. And I would like to end the panel for today. We are running a little short on time. I will quickly pass it back to Reshma for her concluding remarks. Thank you so much. Reshma, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Yashima, Eva, Robert, and Jana for that lovely panel, and also to our mentors before that. So we only have about 3 minutes left. I'd like to use this opportunity to answer some questions, which we've been getting it from the audience members. So there's one that I'm going to pick up right now, which is, are you actively looking to create content to share within the IMPEL community to allow members to reach across all of the yearly cohorts to possibly form collaborations or other mutually beneficial interactions? Great question, Richard. So we've been taking this kind of feedback into account. And this is really about trying to add programming and services and benefits that we want to be responsive to what your needs are. So Actually, Mary, if you don't mind turning off the Q&A slide, it'll be great to kind of just talk one-on-one. So the answer is yes. So we're starting to create, as I mentioned in my slide earlier, something called the I3N, which is the Innovator Industry Investor Network, which is essentially going a step beyond what we've done in the previous years. So the innovators are hopefully going to be, interacting with each other through this network. It's going to be a directory as well as a space for collaboration. So you can interact with each other in terms of seeing how your technologies integrate. We are thinking of actually adding some programming, if not yet this year, then the next year, around how we can not just have teams talk to each other sort of at an informal level, but also seeing how we can develop some concrete technology suites. So for example, if somebody's working on a controls technology and somebody else is working on a lighting technology and somebody else is working on a dynamic blind shading, window shading technology, can we actually bring these three different components together to form a system of technologies that will work with each other rather than against each other? So Flex Lab and some of our other national lab test beds are actually really great at getting some of these integrated technology testing into place. So we are really hoping that we can form technology suites which are specifically addressing certain climate zones, certain building types, and certain communities, especially disadvantaged communities. So we hope that we can actually bring in integrated testing, and that'll be really like a great achievement if we can do this out of the I3N network. The other aspect is the ability to reach out to mentors. So we already have that as part of IMPEL. After you have a facilitated workshop with the mentors, you are provided additional access and one-on-one conversations with a double opt-in process. So I think the I3N network is something that's really going to help with bringing the community together, and we're looking forward to rolling it out next year. So we have time for one more question, and then we can actually, okay, so there's a question, how many people apply and how many are selected in each cohort? So typically we have a large number of people applying in the hundreds, and then we take about 40 people in every cohort, because we want to make sure that we are being able to select innovators from across the US, and we want to make sure there's enough diversity with regions as well as ethnic and racial diversity. So we just want to make sure that we're able to serve the needs of the residents of this great country. So thank you so much for your questions. Again, just to wrap up, our deadline for IMPEL applications this year is the 20th of September. You can go on impel.lbl.gov and you can fill out the application form. And we will be starting our foundational training in October. So as Robert mentioned, very quick turnarounds. The program goes pretty rapidly. So go ahead and apply. And if you have any questions, please reach out to us at impel@lbl.gov. Thank you to the coaches, to our collaborators and partners, to our mentors, and to our innovators, everybody who builds this great IMPEL community. We really appreciate the value and the passion that each one of you bring to the table. Thank you for joining the IMPEL webinar, and hope to see you on the other side. Thank you. Bye-bye.